Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how you can use your Gilding Flakes with any dies that you have in your stash. I'm going to be using these gorgeous rich gold Chariot of Fire Gilding Flakes from IndigoBlu today, along with the Perspective Butterfly die from Holts Sizzix. I'm going to be using some double-sided adhesive sheets, so I've got these Sticks 2 ones that I'm using today, and I've already cut a card panel to size. I've cut it down to about 5 by 7 inches. We'll be able to trim this down later on, and then I just want the double-sided adhesive sheet to go all over the front of it. Now normally when you're die cutting with double-sided adhesive, you're wanting the sticky part to be on the back of the die cut, but today we want it to be on the front. Now I did try applying sticky sheets to both sides, but it made it very tricky to die cut. So you could give that a go because you'll see later on we will need to add some glue to the back of it. However, I found just die cutting from the one side was a lot easier. So I'm just taking my pokey tool here just to remove all of those little bits, but you can see that the die has cut beautifully. I did use the Chrome Precision base plate that you can buy for the Big Shot machine because I find when I'm cutting intricate dies, it does just give a much better finish, especially when you're die cutting through double-sided adhesive sheets or maybe speciality cardstocks like metallic cardstock. Then when it's got a coating on it, can sometimes be tricky with intricate dies. So yeah, the Chrome base plate really helps. So I'm just working out where I want this die to be on the black cardstock, and I decide I need to get rid of some of those other little bits on the far right hand side. I thought I'd be trimming that off completely, but I think I will still need to use a little bit of it. So I've just popped those out. And then this is where it would have helped to have had double-sided adhesive on the back, but I'm just going to add a little bit of liquid glue. I'm using a precision glue bottle and I've just got some Cosmic Shimmer quick grab glue in there. So I'm just using that, and you don't need to coat the whole of it. You just want all the little edges to be kind of glued down. So yeah, try not to worry about needing glue on every little bit. You could of course use some glue on a sponge and then add the glue that way, as I've done in a previous video with an intricate die. But yeah, this was working fine for me today. So I've trimmed off the edge with my long bladed Tim Holtz scissors, and I'm just going to remove the backing tape from the double-sided adhesive sheet here. Now it was a little bit fiddly because obviously it's quite an intricate die, but once you've managed to kind of peel it all off, you want to make sure that there's no bits coming up, and if you do notice that there are, then just add a little bit more glue to the back of it and stick those down, and you can use the release paper to kind of push it back down again. So then we can go ahead and add our Gilding Flakes, and I have got a piece of copy paper underneath this because I don't want to get a complete mess all over my desk. But I do find with the IndigoBlu flakes, because they're quite big, you don't end up with too much flake dust, so they're a lot easier to use than others that I've tried. So once I've covered all of the double-sided adhesive sheet with Gilding Flakes, I'm then just going to go ahead and pop the excess back in the pot. Now I would recommend storing your Gilding Flakes in a separate tub that's bigger because it does make it easier to put them back. However, I've only got one big tub and it's got a different colour of flake in at the moment, so that's why I'm using my pot like this. And then just going all over the image with a paintbrush. Now the stiffer the paintbrush the better, because that will get into all of the nooks and crannies a lot easier, but I've just got this soft paintbrush that I'm using today, and then I will come in with the Scoochy Foam a bit later on, which I'll show you in a moment. So using the paintbrush like this, it just allows you to get rid of all the excess flakes and really burnish the flakes into the double-sided adhesive sheet that you've got on the die cut there. So I just keep tapping off the excess and popping it back in the pot. And here I'm coming in with this Scoochy Foam now. So this is like a mildly abrasive soft sponge, and it just allows you to get off all the excess a little bit quicker. I kind of like using both. I like using the paintbrush because I feel like you don't lose any of the shine, and sometimes if you're a bit heavy-handed with the Scoochy Foam, you can cause the flakes to get a little bit scratched, but it is definitely a quicker way of getting off the excess. So if you notice that there's any areas that you've missed with the Gilding Flakes, then just come back in and add a few more, and then follow the same process. Use your paintbrush just to remove the excess. And you can repeat that as many times as you need to. However, you should have got a really good coverage the first time round when you added the Gilding Flakes, but sometimes if some of the flakes are overlapping each other, then it can cause you to miss areas. So I think that's what happened here. So once I've finished that, I'm just taking a dry microfiber cloth just to wipe any dust off of the card panel. And then that is the Gilded Flaked Butterfly finished. And just look at that. Because it's on cardstock, the die cut, and then you've got the double-sided adhesive, it's slightly raised and it really just looks like gilded gold. It's really, really pretty. So to turn this into a card, I've got this sentiment stamp set from Wow, and I've decided that that sentiment that says love will fit nicely in between the wings of the butterfly. So I'm going to add some gold embossing powder for the sentiment. So I'm just using my anti-static powder bag here just to take off any grease or stickiness from the cardstock, because obviously I've had my hands all over it. I'm going to ink up the stamp using my Wow Embossing Ink Pad, and then I'm just going to make sure that I get a really nice even stamped image there. I find you need to work a little bit quicker on black cardstock because it can be quite absorbent of the embossing ink. So that's something to bear in mind. You don't want to leave it too long after you've stamped your image. I'm then going to come in with the polished gold embossing powder, and I'm making sure to tip the powder away from the gilded image, just so none of the embossing powder sticks to any areas that I don't want it to. Then I'm going to bring in my heat tool. This is the Wow heat tool on the hottest setting, and I'm heat setting from underneath so I don't blow the powder around. And once it's started to melt, you can finish it off over the top. There is a very slight bit of warping because I have my heat tool a bit too close, but that's okay. Once we've glued this down, it's going to disappear. I played around with the sentiment layout off camera, and I ended up just stamping this and hugs in black ink on some white cardstock, and I just trimmed it down, and I'm just going to go ahead and add some glue to the back of that and stick that down nice and flat. I've got a matte layer of gold cardstock here, so my panel now measures 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and then I've got 4 3/8 by 6 3/8 for my gold panel matte layer. So I'm just going to stick that down. I'm going to use my magnets to hold it in place while the glue sticks, and that really helped get rid of the warping that I had. And then again, I'm going to add some glue to the back of it now and attach it to a 5x7 card blank. And again, I just used my magnets off camera, and then it's lovely and flat. So just to finish this card off, I'm going to add a few little gold flat back gems that I've got. So I'm just going to play around with the layout. It takes me forever to work out where I want the gems to go. It seems to be one of the hardest bits of card making. So you'll have to let me know in the comments below if you've got any tricks or tips. I do always try and work in odd numbers or little groups across the card diagonally as I've done today. So yeah, I think placement's just really hard, isn't it, when you're just finishing off a card. But there's the finished card for today. I really hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. It is quite a basic card to finish with, but I really hope it just gives you some inspiration of ways that you could use Gilding Flakes with your dies. I do have a few more ideas, so I'll be sure to share those with you soon. As always, all the products that I've used will be linked in the description box below. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.